Hi there, you're watching the Gardens and Graveyards channel. My name is Charisma, and today we're sitting in the medicine garden, and we are about to do some massive cleanup. But before I get started on that, I wanted to give you a before and after tour. So my thought with this video is that I'm going to give you a really detailed tour right now before I get to work on it. And then either this evening or tomorrow or sometime in the near future when it's all cleaned up, and all the debris has been removed and it's just looking beautiful again, we'll do another tour. And it'll all be on one video so you can see the before and after side by side. I will also share with you in a video all of the cleanup. Like, what do I clean up? How do I clean it up? What things can be cut back and they'll come back again, and what things were annuals and they're just getting pulled out and they're just too tired, or things that I'm gonna like pull out of the garden and not keep in the garden anymore, which we'll talk about removal a little bit more in the before and after tour. But certainly I can show you how I just maintain all the herbs in the garden in like more of a active video. So you'll probably have already seen that video. That'll probably come out the day before I set this one up. And then you can see a little bit more of my detailed thought process in the before and afters. So in this video, I wanted to kind of go plant by plant in the medicine garden and tell you what the plant is and what the pros and cons of having the plant in the garden is, and whether or not I expect to remove it and why. And then in the after video, we'll go even more detailed on the plants that we kept and what I use those particular plants for in my personal life. So I hope that's something that is inspiring to you. If it is something that you really enjoy talking in depth about plants and herbs in particular, in our YouTube membership, there's 4 ways that you could be a member of our channel. And the first 2 are fairly basic. You get any video that I post when I post it. So I often post my videos late at night, and I often post my videos 2 or 3 videos per night so that I could have a couple of days off, or I can really focus on production, or I could go travel and find new gardens and graveyards to film. So you would get, if you were a member of my channel at any level, you would get those videos the minute I uploaded them. In the upper levels, specifically in the fall level, I labeled them spring, summer, fall, and winter. Is that right? Maybe it's winter, spring, summer, and fall. For the top tier level, you would get once a month an in-depth plant profile where I go really deep into information and properties of one specific plant. We'll talk about spiritual properties. We'll talk about planetary connections and crystal connections. We'll talk about body connections. We'll talk about, I'll often share like a tea recipe, definitely how it grows in the garden, what soil requirements and sun requirements and light requirements and water requirements and all those fun things, nutrition. And I will probably be sharing also like different ways that you could use it if you're not using it in a tea or a salve or some sort of a medicinal way. Can it be dried as a dried flower? Can it be cut as a beautiful floral arrangement? Can you eat it in a salad or just like raw? Does it have to be cooked? All those types of things. We'll just go into a really deep profile. I expect most of them will be about an hour to an hour and a half. And some of them that are just like my absolute favorite and I know a whole lot about that I just can't stop sharing, they might even go up to 2 hours. So if you're interested in that, it's $14.99 a month, and I think it's gonna be well worth it to just spend a couple hours with me every month. And I just totally geek out on one plant. And then, of course, I will be available for any kind of comments or questions or insights that you might want to share with me. So today, though, we are going to just do a tour of the medicine garden. And I'm going to turn the camera around and we're going to get started. I'm going to give you an overview of how messy it is. This time of year, it just starts looking tired and messy and overgrown and just kind of wild. And I'm just ready to make it look beautiful and clean again. And I'm really inspired to make some bigger changes with some herbs that I'm just not really using as much as I thought I would, or that are just such prolific growers that I need to move them or change how I grow them so that they don't take up so much space in the garden. Okay, we're going to start here. This is the pathway into the medicine garden, and there's an L-shaped terrace that basically holds this whole hill inside. On the outer beds of the medicine garden, we'll just start here and kind of walk our way in. So I do have a rhubarb with some columbine in that pot. It struggles. It doesn't want to be in a pot. And then I've got this St. John's wort that is done for the season that needs to be cut back. But the rhubarb is not, it's not super happy here. I think it gets a little bit too much sun here too. Not everything in this bed is herbs. Some of it is ornamental. I do have a collection of 3 different kinds of lavender. They're all English lavenders. They're just different varieties. Over in this bed, I have a weeping birch, which does have some medicinal and spiritual properties, but I don't really use it that way yet. Anyway, the purple flower is crane's bill geranium, which has its own spiritual properties, and geranium does have a little bit of medicinal qualities as well. I, however, have not been using this particular plant in that way. It's just naturalized here in my garden, and I just let it go. But it is, it's done. You know, there's still some blooms on here, but the majority of it has gone to seed. You can see these are the seeds. These seeds are kind of wild, like really spiky, hard seed pods. Anyway, so I need to pull all that out. Then we have this bronze fennel, which will get more bronze as the fall comes on. I do use fennel, but not to this extent. I mean, this is just like so much. I do probably use the seeds more than the leaves. I use them in pickles, but this plant is just huge and it's flopped over with the winds and rain, so I just need to stake that up. I have some honeysuckle and some clematis and foxglove in this pot, which none of that is used medicinally at all, but it does need to be cleaned up. Underneath this bronze fennel, hello, there is more lavender and borage under there, and I'm sure she would like to have some more sun. So that's just another reason it needs to, it's in the pathway, all the things. She needs to have a little help. Stepping closer into the garden, we have a blueberry here. Now, my blueberries have been in pots for, I think, 4 years now. There's 3 of them here, here, in there. All of the blueberries this fall will be put into the ground. And my intention is to put 2 up here and I think 1 in the second tier. But I kind of need to clean everything out and make decisions about that. They will be going into the ground this year. This is amaranth, and I'm growing amaranth as a dried flower this year. I'm not intending to grow it to grind and use as flour. I'm not growing enough to do that. It is time to harvest and start drying those, and those are just annuals, so I can pull them out of the garden today. Look at this one. It's so big. It's so pretty. I need to do it now because you can see this one has started to go to seed. Once they start going to seed, they'll just start falling. They'll just start falling apart, and they won't hold as a dried flower. Moving into the bed a little bit more, I have this patch of Artemisia, which I can harvest. I mostly use this in a smudge stick. I do use it a tiny bit in tea. It does give very lucid dreams. So I don't use it a lot. I just love the way it smells, and it looks really pretty in cut flowers, or like as a flower arrangement, as like a Dusty Miller alternative, but this is the medicinal Artemisia. It has a really woody base, and so I just cut it all back, and it just grows back up from the base every year. I have a thyme here that has also gotten very, very woody. You could see it's just not like the best, and I recently planted a thyme up there that I will continue to kind of cultivate, and this one will probably just come out. I have a little pot of self-heal. Spencer does not like this ground cover, so I just keep it in one little pot to use as needed. We'll just go bed by bed. This is a sedum, which is a really bright and beautiful color, but it does not need to be in my medicinal beds. It was in the succulent waterfall, which got completely overgrown, and that all has to get completely weeded out and changed. It was really hard to maintain. It's a very steep hill, which is why we extended this terrace out and put containers so that we can actually make use of the space. We'll have probably do something similar in this area as well, but it, you know, I just need to clean it out so I can see what is going on exactly. All right, so then in this bed, there's some more borage here and here. And if I get rid of this Artemisia, there is echinacea in here, and I don't know if it's gonna have a chance to bloom, but its best chance is if there's another one here, if I remove this Artemisia, at least reduce the size. Then as we continue on, there is a volunteer comfrey. My first comfrey was up here, 1 plant. That plant is now 4 plants. And there's another one here, and there's, I believe, 2. Maybe it's just 1 here. So I'm going to decide which tier I'm going to keep the comfrey on and remove the rest of them. I may give them away, but the leaves also make really good, nutritious compost. So I may just do a compost tea, or I may just use the leaves as a mulch. We'll see what I do when I do it. Struggling to come up through the comfrey is I have a yellow yarrow, which has faded, and it's like starting to go to seed. It makes an interesting texture as a cut flower. It's a little more faded than I like it to be, but it can be used in like a kind of an autumn floral arrangement, dried flower arrangement. So I'll be cutting those and getting it back to its main plant. All of these. We have walking Egyptian onions in here, which has been really fun. What happens is they shoot up their green stalk. They get these seed heads. They keep bulking up, bulking up, bulking up, and then they get too heavy and they fall over like that. And then they hit the ground and they start sprouting, rooting and sprouting in the ground, and essentially walking. And then I can encourage it. I can move them so that they go this way and walk back. And I've been doing that for a few years. They get these bulblets on them, which are edible and tasty, but they're kind of a pain with each little tiny bulb that needs to be peeled. You can also pull out the actual bulb underground that's a little bit bigger to use as a onion. Or you can just cut the green stalks when they're young and use them like a green, like a fresh green onion, you know, like a scallion kind of onion, which I do that more often than anything else. And really, they're just kind of messy, and I don't enjoy them as much as I wish that I did. So I'm going to be removing the walking Egyptian onions. I may do a different project with them. I saw something interesting that I might try with them, but we'll see. Then I have this patch over here, which was golden oregano. It was beautiful for a couple of years. Then the bindweed snuck in, and then the grass came, and then the walking Egyptian onions were coming in it, and then we had a volunteer fern, and it's just like an absolute disaster. There's no way. There's also some buttercup in there, I see. There's no way I would eat or partake of this oregano ever, because it's so entangled with so many different types of weeds. So I'm going to I did last year, we cut it way down. We weeded it all out, and we had hoped that we could stay on top of the weeds. We weren't able to, and it just created the same kind of mess that it did last year. I do not want to deal with that again. So I'm going to dig it all out and get rid of it. We'll replace the soil, and probably not plant anything there. We might put a different pot there and plant something. Maybe we'll plant oregano, but like all by itself in a, you know, sanitized soil pot. I popped this container of lovage up here. It was down here when I planted my lavenders. It got fried this year. It does not want this much sun. I think I can just take off all of the old stalks and we'll be left with fresh, and I just need to pull it off of this tier, and I might replant the lovage in something else, or just give it some plant tone and leave it in that pot for the winter. It certainly has gone, the soil is certainly receded and it could use a little more, but anyway, we'll do something with this lovage and it won't be staying there, and I'll be just, basically I'm removing everything but the yarrow in this tier. Up on this upper tier, I have purple culinary sage, and I have a variegated culinary sage up there that I would love to just like grow more of, but it kind of struggles in that space. Might want to move it somewhere else. The chocolate ajaga does really good up there at helping weed control, and we're trying to encourage that to continue on. I do have this pineapple sage, this plant right here, which will be staying. It blooms late in the season. I love it. It's beautiful. This one will stay here. The lavender fizz, it might get moved somewhere else so that I can plant a blueberry up here. And then I have to make a decision. I'm definitely reducing the size and cutting down all the bloom stalks and the seed heads off this comfrey, but I have to make a decision about whether or not I'm going to keep that one there, or if I'm going to keep one of these instead. Okay, moving into the second part of the tiers. We've been sharing this whole project with you all week, so you already know this is all mint in time. They're all young babies. We're trying to keep all the cuttings moist so that they take and grow. Let's just start at the top here. At the very top tier, I have a container that has calla lilies and creeping jenny, which has nothing to do with medicine. It just, that pot was a decorative pot that I had here when I moved this blueberry into the medicine garden. It was originally where my greenhouse is now, and so they had to find new homes. Anyway, so the top, there's, you know, there's ornamental crocosmia, but there is also all of these purple spikes here is verbena, and it gives this great, beautiful, airy structure, but then it just starts looking super messy. So I really don't mind that it self-seeds, because for I guess like June through late August, it looks really pretty and fun. It kind of gives it like a whimsical flavor. And verbena is an herb. I don't use it, but it is an herb, a medicinal herb. And I just think it's beautiful. So I just let it self-seed. And but this time of year, I'm just ready to see it gone. It's just starting to get real messy. Down in this second tier, I have a huge patch of dwarf oregano, which I really like the dwarf oregano. It's gotten a little weedy and a little bit harder to maintain because of all the weeds. And I don't need that much dwarf oregano. That is just like, it's one plant. It's about 3.5 to close to 4 feet wide and 3 feet deep, and it's climbing up the end and it's draping over the edge. So it's probably close to 4 feet wide as well. I definitely don't need that. So I'm going to cut it way down to a small bit, and then we'll probably transplant it into a container later on in the season. I also have white yarrow all in this area. We also have another comfrey back there. I was testing to see how well it did in shade. It did pretty well. You could see their big leaves back there, surprisingly. Okay, and then this is, like I said, all yarrow on this side. And then I have garlic chives here. I also planted some celine, which goodness knows why. I planted this everywhere this year. I love this as a dried flower, but really not necessary here. I think I just had extra seedlings and was trying to find places for them. But this is garlic chives, and it's just gotten unruly, and it's just time to cut it back. I had some chamomile here, but in the construction of doing all of this, it kind of just got destroyed. So I'm going to cut it back, but I'm seeing a bunch of fresh green right here. So I'll leave that and see what it does. I've got some plantain here that can be pulled out, some clover that can be pulled out. And then this is just onion chives. So I've got the onion chives and the garlic chives, and you can see the onion chives is push new stuff, but there's the old stuff that needs to just come out of there. So we'll be doing that. And then down on this tier, oh my goodness, again, this tier used to only have these little ground covers, either the Corsican mint or the elfin thyme, and then this sedum took over. You can see all of its blooms. It's starting to go to seed, or has gone to seed. I'm definitely removing all of the flowers today. It was all in here. We ripped out all the vinca. You know, all that kind of got destroyed. That's fine. I don't really care. I don't want sedum in this section anyways. But we'll see if I get around to. I might just put it in a flat and save it. We've got a volunteer nasturtium in here that's just kind of wandering around. I don't really mind that. Spencer loves nasturtium, so I'll probably leave that alone. It's also growing with this squash that we're trying to let do its thing, so we'll probably just leave that alone. There's a squash coming on right there. Yeah, so we'll just weed underneath it and that kind of thing. And then I've got a Roman chamomile back there, which is totally fine. I just want to weed around it. And then I have Tulsi or holy basil in this bottom tier of this little ladder of plants. I just need to take off the flowers and maybe do a little pinching and saving of the holy basil. And then Spencer has some petunias up there that just need to be deadheaded. This is another blueberry that will get transplanted this fall. I may place all the blueberries kind of where I'd like to see them growing, and see if that'll be a good opportunity for me to see if I want to keep them there. All right, so then I've just got like a bunch of stuff. Like I need to just clean it up, and there's like empty pots and that kind of thing that can go, you know, back by the potting shed. And then I've got this tower of strawberries, which has been doing really fantastic all season long. It's starting to look a little tired with like some dead leaves. I want to just clean those up. Got some beautiful strawberries on here. We just turn it every day and water the reservoir. This is a green stock water tower. Of course, mine is black, but it's the green stock is the brand name. Oh, I'm just seeing this giant strawberry. Look at that. It's so beautiful. I think I'll just have a little snack. So, just want to clean that up and make it look presentable again. And then we're back to the crazy fennel. So, that completes the medicinal garden tour. As far as what is going to get done. We might even do a little zhuzhang on these containers up there. I've got lemon balm and marshmallow and bay and borage up there that we might maintain. We just recently cut back the rosemary, so I don't think I need to do anything with that. All right, so as you can see, it's quite extensive here. I was 20 minutes of chatting about everything that's growing in the garden, and I didn't really even get into, you know, properties or like why things are the way they are or anything like that. None of this garden is on irrigation. We hand water it all. We do not water this area as much as we do or as deeply as we do other areas in the garden. And yeah, it's like I love this space, but I really want it to be a space that I walk into and feel nourished in my soul when I come in here. It is a medicine garden, and there's food here that takes care of my body, the inside and the outside of my body. But if it was if I do a few things to make it more beautiful, it could be a really sacred space for me to just sit and immerse myself and plant medicine in a whole different way. And that's what I would like to strive for at this point. So I will be back in, shortly with you and share how it all looks when it's all clean and cleared out, and we can begin again and be ready for the next chapter of this garden's life. Hi there. Welcome back. It's been a couple of days, and I was hoping to do a lot more in this garden before the tour came, but it's threatening to storm, and it's been raining off and on, and we just haven't gotten back out here. So I wanted to make sure that I get an after tour, as it promised, of this medicine garden space. if we get a chance before the video goes out to do a little bit more dress up, I will make sure that gets added into the end of this video. Otherwise, at least we get a good after shot, right? Okay, so here is the before shot. Just super overgrown. All right, hopefully immediately you can tell the difference because it just looks so much more open and airy than it did before we cut everything back. I do go into a little bit more detail of everything that we did in the video where I showed you where I actually cut everything back. So in this video, I'm just going to talk about the herbs that we still have and why I have them in the garden. So we have lavender in containers. And the reason they're in containers is because they tend to rot in our area. So they need a lot of drainage. They also need a lot of heat. So they're in cement containers, which holds a lot of heat, and they've got tons of extra drainage in their soil. And I'm just doing my best to baby them along. Lavender is my favorite herb. I love the way it smells. I love the structure, and I use it in tea. I use it in cooking. I use it in desserts. I just love it. It's so calming and soothing and beautiful, and I really want to find a way to be successful growing it in this garden. Right here I have the bronze fennel, which I just pulled up into like a ponytail and stuffed it into this obelisk. I actually don't use it very much, but it's really fun structure, and if I had done that earlier, it would have been a lot prettier. I do use the fennel seed, so I let the blooms go all the way to seed. They turn brown in their little seeds, and I do use that a lot in tea and a tiny bit in cooking. Fennel has a licorice flavor, and Spencer is not a fan of licorice, so we don't do a whole lot with that. But if you enjoy the licorice flavor, the stalks taste really good in stir fry, and the fronds make a really fun addition to different things like salsas or pestos, and I don't know. Well, certainly I use the fronds in tea. I do use the fronds in tea. All right, so then we have our green stalk tower, which mine is black, but it is a green stalk, full of strawberries. Been a really great addition to the garden. Really love growing strawberries on this thing because the strawberries are always super clean. And I could just pick it right off and eat it, and it's not dirty. It's super easy to harvest because I'm not crawling around on my hands and knees searching for them. So I really do love that. We have had slugs, so that is a little bit of a problem. I think what I will do next year is you can see it's on this like base so that you can turn it. I think what I'm gonna do is cover that base in copper. They've got like tape that's copper, and I'm gonna try that, and of course treat the soil and make sure that there's not slug babies in there. All right, so this is my walking Egyptian onion harvest that I need to bring inside before it gets rained on, and dry them out and use them or plant them, whatever I'm gonna do. We didn't get the blueberries moved. I wanted to move these 3 blueberries. They're gonna go at the top of this terrace. I'm not sure exactly, maybe in a triangle, I don't know yet. But I wanted to move them in their containers up there and kind of move them around and decide what I'm gonna do. But I did not get to that. All right, so I kept my lovage. I love this plant. It's tasty. It also has like a little bit of a like celery flavor, I guess. Really fun. I use it in tea a lot. I use it in soup. I use it in stir fry and or like I use it in like a pot roast or something like that. I throw a couple of leaves in there, and it has that celery flavor. I took a lot of Artemisia down and just cut it down to its main base plant there. I don't use Artemisia a lot in medicine, but I love the structure of the plant. I just love this silver blue foliage. I love the way it smells. It's very like deep earthy smell. So she gets to stay. She may get moved when I rejuvenate everything, but she's a keeper. I have a couple of borage here, which is fine, and I have a couple of echinacea that was kind of like hiding underneath all the Artemisia that was here. So I don't know if I'm going to get blooms. Sure would have been nice had I gotten blooms. Love echinacea in my tea and in medicinal teas. All right, this is just a pile of comfrey, and it's just gonna get to compost, slow compost right there. They actually rot and melt down pretty quickly over the winter. I'm not planting anything there until spring, so it could just kind of live there. We'll probably like make sure it's not on the wood and kind of staining and making a mess out of the wood. But okay, up at the top I have sage, a couple of different sages, culinary sage. Really fun to have in the garden. I like the purple and the variegated sage. Just gives the garden you know, a variation to look at, something fun to see, and then it smells good, and of course you could use it in cooking. We have 5 comfrey plants here. Technically it was just 1, but it's clumped out into 3. Self-seeded here, self-seeded here. Well, I think I'm going to keep this one right here, and I'm going to remove these ones and give them away, or whatever I do with them. You can see they get quite large. This is a medium size. They get twice this size. They seed prolifically. You have to really be on top of when they start seeding, you know, when the bloom stalks set seed, because the cycle is really fast and they just kind of take over. I love having comfrey in the garden for 2 reasons. They are really good compost components. They make a great compost tea. They're really good to just put in your compost or just leave on the ground to compost. Normally I don't pile it up like that. I'll just lay them in a you know, like a 2-leaf layer on all of the beds, and by spring it's completely decomposed and part of the soil, and it has given the soils a lot of really great nutrients and minerals. So I will keep them for that reason, and more importantly, twice. I have cut myself severely. I've used it on minor cuts, but I've cut myself very deeply and immediately wrapped the cut in a comfrey leaf, which stopped the bleeding and promoted very quick healing. The other common name of comfrey is bone set. Now, I don't want to try the bone set because I don't know enough, but the natives have used comfrey, and naturopathics and, you know, more knowledgeable herbalists have used bone set or comfrey to set broken bones. So you reset the bone properly so it doesn't grow deformed, and then you wrap the area on the outside where the bone, instead of like a cast, you'd wrap it with comfrey, and your skin absorbs the property of the comfrey, medicinal properties, and promotes healing of bones and helps them set so that they don't crack or fracture. Really cool. I'm not going to try it, but really cool. It definitely stops bleeding. I wouldn't suggest using it for like if you cut yourself with a chainsaw or something, but I did cut myself almost to the bone with a brand new pair of pruners. It was my very first cut with a brand new pair of pruners, and I was on lavender, actually, in the woody stem of the lavender, and so I really pressed into it thinking I was cutting lavender, and instead I was cutting my pinky. I was actually in this garden, grabbed a leaf, wrapped it around. It did bleed through the comfrey, wrapped it again, stopped bleeding, got myself into the house, told Spencer what was going on, and then we unwrapped the comfrey to see how bad the gash was, and it immediately just started pouring blood, sorry. And then I had already grabbed a fresh leaf. Like, I walked into the house with my pinky wrapped and a fresh leaf. I wrapped it again, stopped the bleeding, just kept it on there with, you know, like, you wrap it really tight so it's got the pressure and everything. And I did not have to get stitches, and it healed great. I don't even have a scar there. It's amazing. So I will always keep at least one comfrey plant in my garden. And you can see I only need one because they're huge, and like, you don't need that many leaves. There are other medicinal properties, but I won't get into it today. And then I've got some yarrow back here, which I use a little bit of yarrow in some tea, but I don't use it a lot. I just really love the texture. Again, really fun, silvery texture and just interesting leaf shape. We obviously did all of these mints and thymes in a video very recently. You go back and look at that. A bunch of different kinds of mint and thyme. I use both mints and thyme in cooking and in tea, like a lot. And then I've got some different chives here that's just used in cooking. We've got a little bit of oregano also used in cooking. We've got some chamomile that I use in tea. I eventually hope that I get a big enough chamomile patch that I could use it in a salve. And then more yarrow over here, a different variety that has a different kind of texture on the leaf. I've got a little bit of basil back there that I love in a tea. That's a Tulsi basil or holy basil. Love it in a tea. It smells absolutely amazing, fresh. And then I've got some Roman chamomile here that I really haven't played with yet, but it does have a really pretty flower and really fun texture. All right, so, and then we've got nasturtiums, and the nasturtium flowers are edible. They've got like a peppery flavor. And then we've got a squash. Do we have actual squash? I don't know. Yeah, we've got a little squash growing in there with, yeah, a little squash. Cool. All right, so if I don't get around to moving my blueberries and composting or mulching this garden before this video goes out, at least you can see what all we've done and how amazing the garden looks with just a little bit of breathing room. It makes me just feel so good. I absolutely love it. And if you're interested in learning more about herbal properties, make sure you become a member of our channel, because we will be doing plant profiles and a deep dive. And I cannot wait to share that with you. It's one of my biggest passions. So I hope to see you there, and I hope that you keep celebrating your life, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.